Hello everyone and welcome to Superman Homepage Live, the Superman show brought to you by supermanhomepage.com, #1 Superman fan site in the world. In this, our September 20th, 2021 show, we're going to be covering a range of topics, including the latest episode of Supergirl, upcoming episodes. We're going to be talking about the December solicitations, comic books, and so much more. We're also going to turn to you to ask for your questions and comments on any particular Superman topic you would like to discuss. And to let you know how all that works and how you can get involved in tonight's show, let me introduce you to my co-host, Mr. Michael Bailey. Hey, Mike.
Oh, yeah, I guess I am here, aren't I? How you doing, Steve?
Doing well, and yourself?
I was just dancing around trying to find where the where the show had moved to, so I can pay attention to the thing. No, I'm doing great. It's been a relaxing day, but nobody wants to hear about my day. What they do want to hear about is Superman, because Superman Homepage Live is all about Superman. We probably do really bad at a Batman show. And because of that, we want to hear from the Superman fans that have found us once again and are watching us live on YouTube. And how do we do that? Well, about halfway through the show, we sometimes take calls, and that's a really easy process. What you're going to do is go to Skype, look for Superman Homepage, and then message us that you'd like to be on the show. Now, a couple of things. This is really important. One, message us and wait for us to call you, because that can screw things up. You see how tenuous everything is around here. Also, please, if you are watching Superman Homepage Live, and I'm saying that over and over again so I can get used to saying it, please, if you're using an external speaker, please mute that, because we are on a bit of delay, and that can cause some issues.
Yes, indeed. And for those who are tuning in live via YouTube, we encourage you to post your comments. Other people are typing away. You can type your comment, ask questions. Michael and I will react to them as the show goes on. And if you'd like your comment or question featured live on the screen as we go along, that's called a super chat. All you have to do is click the little dollar symbol there on YouTube. A slider will appear on your screen. You decide on the dollar amount you're willing to donate to our show, and we will feature your comment or question live on the screen as the show continues. And thank you to our sponsors, Douglas Meacham, John Patrick Van Pelt, and Tina Murray. We appreciate your support. And if you'd like to support the show, simply head to patreon.com/Superman homepage, or don't move anywhere, just click the join button below right there on YouTube. People are commenting on your background behind you, Michael. Have you moved a few?
Yeah, the one that I'm kind of proud of, if I can, okay, I got to do it the other way, is this one.
0 hour.
That is it's a double-sided poster. On the first side is the cover from Superman: The Man of Steel, where Superman is surrounded by all the Batman that John Bogdanove drew. This one is Batman surrounded by a bunch of different Supermen. So I put that up because while I liked the posters that I had, somebody noticed that you really didn't see Superman in any of them, and Firestorm was photobombing the show constantly. So I changed things around here on the weekend. I mean, I've got my calendar, which I always have up, but even though there's quasi-Batman stuff in the background, it's Superman Batman, so that should be fine.
Yeah, very cool. That's nice. Well done. All right, well, what's your week been like this week?
It has been just... I'm out of, like, the post-con funk, and Dragon Con's different. You really get into a different mindset. It's hard to break out of that.
Yeah.
So now everything's kind of getting back to normal, and luckily we don't have like a super heavy week, so I can ease back into this. So, but yeah, I mean, we had an episode of Supergirl last week, and Superman Lois is available on a streaming service, so we got a lot to talk about today.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, and my background, for Justin who's asking, it's the variant cover to the December issue of Superman 78, which we will get to in the solicitations when we get to that. And before I move on, I wanted to thank everyone for the birthday messages that I received this week. My birthday was on the 16th. It was my 50th, and I received a lot of nice messages and a lot of cool tributes, so appreciate everyone's comments on that. And as you said, there was a new episode of Supergirl this week. You submitted your review of Mixie in the Middle. It was the 11th episode of this 6th and final season of Supergirl. We didn't get the sing along that we thought we would. We thought it'd be a bit more of a musical episode. Mixie did get in there and sing a "I Will Survive" kind of version of the current events of things. What did you make of this episode?
It was. It, I almost said it's okay, and then suddenly I'm like Columbia and the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and somebody's going to get annoyed with me. It was a perfectly serviceable episode. It was not as good as last week's or the week before, but we're not back to like the early part of the season with the Phantom Zone episodes.
Yeah.
One of the things I hit the episode on in my review is that having all of these things that they have to assemble to form the ultimate weapon that's going to give somebody ultimate power sounds like a kid's cartoon, and someone's like, well, that's what they did in Avengers Infinity War. Are you saying that was like a kid's cartoon? And the answer to that question is yes, but it's all about the execution of it. Right. So sometimes it just seems like this is just giving everybody something to do. It's like we needed a plot to kind of carry us through, and it's fine. And if it ends up being really entertaining, I'm not going to have any issues. But it's like we're kind of teetering on the fence here. However, Mixie was great. I just loved Mixie through this entire. I love the guy playing him. He is obviously in role. Like he's what you would think what Mixie would be like. So. And I'm kind of liking Nixley as a villain. I think it's one of the strongest villains they've had on the show.
Yeah, Mixie is one of my favorite Superman villains, if not the favorite. And I love the way he's being portrayed in this by Thomas Lennon. I think he's doing a superb job. I love the fact that he was trying to find some usefulness, trying to be useful in this episode because he couldn't use his magic because it would be a beacon for Nixley to find where they stowed him. But it was a serviceable episode, as you said. I wasn't too sure about the whole Lena Luthor witch powers thing. Does everybody in this show have to come to a superpower at some stage?
When it became very obvious that that's what they were going to do, I'm like, wow, we have hit peak like CW soap opera here, where it's not that her mother has some like dark secret, it's that she was part of this coven of witches, and I have no problem with that because my wife's a witch, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. She's pagan, so this kind of stuff I'm always a little sensitive to because sometimes they get really weird about presenting it, but it's just like, yeah, are they honestly gonna make her a witch? Are they honestly gonna turn Lena Luthor into a witch? Like, is this how we're gonna close the book on this character that we've done so many bad things to?
Yeah, I'm just not sure about that angle of things. It was an interesting story, her having to go back to, try to find where her mum was, and that people didn't want to know about her, and that she, was someone who was, on the outer there, but then the whole witch thing kind of with powers and magic and that kind of threw me a little bit. I didn't mind the side story, but it just seemed like, really, is that where we're going?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it took like the drama of a dark family secret and made it supernatural, which isn't. I mean, this show's had witches. I mean, we had Kryptonian witches in season 3, so it's not like witches aren't like oh man, that's crossing the line. But it's just this is the last season. This is something you do in season 4 so that you can forget about it 2 seasons later.
But all in all, there was some silliness, but that's what you expect with Mixie's Pitalik and Imps from the Fifth Dimension. I saw people saying the best use of heat vision ever was using it as a little red dot to get the cat distracted, the giant cat.
Yeah, I mean, they made Dreamer and Martian Manhunter and Brainy and Supergirl fighting a giant cat seem plausible. And I did like that it was the little laser pointer with the heat vision and stuff like that. So they should have called the cat Frisky. But that may have been too cute.
Exactly. So that was the episode Mixie in the Middle, And we look forward to tomorrow night's episode, which will be the 12th episode of the season. But before we get to discussing that and showing the promo trailer for that, because they did, surprise, surprise, release a promo trailer for this upcoming episode for some unknown reason. But they did release a poster image of what's her name? Kelly Olsen as the Guardian without the helmet. We've seen a previous image of her with the helmet on. So here is the image, and it says, taking up where her brother James left off, Guardian lives on. And this is Azzy Tesfaye, the actress in the Guardian uniform.
Taking up where her brother left off in a much better outfit.
Yeah.
I like that they're coloring it like the Guardian outfit. I think it looks good. I'm not completely sold on the helmet, but no, I'm looking forward to seeing her suit up.
Yeah, and the episode is titled Blind Spots. It is the 12th episode of this 6th and final season of Supergirl. And as I mentioned, they actually released a promo trailer for this, which they haven't been doing for the episode since the season 6 return. But here is the promo trailer for Blind Spots.
I am looking at people suffer, people that look like me. People are gonna die.
What are you gonna do?
I am gonna fight this fight. What can I do to help support me?
You're not gonna hurt the city anymore.
So the interesting thing there was that the helmet, when it's on the table, is all silver and grey, and then when she puts it on, it's gold. So I don't know if they did a spray paint job on it or how that works.
It was on the way. They were doing it in the van. I like that Diggle is on his magical mystery tour of the CW verse, and that it's kind of interesting having him talking to her, which is to me, it's cool that another one of the kind of urban warfare characters, like the ones that don't have powers, is kind of talking to her, because she obviously doesn't. And that brings up an interesting question. Is Alex now more of a superpowered character because of her magic gauntlet that does whatever she needs it to do? Or, I mean, I like that she's existing beyond the Supergirl show. She's going to be on the Flash this coming season. That's really cool. But is that weapon that is anything she needs it to be, like, does that kind of take away from her being as badass as she's been through the course of the season?
I don't know.
Or series.
Yeah, well, obviously she still has all her combative skills that come in handy. But as you mentioned there, yeah, we see John Diggle, and this episode just doesn't star him, but David Ramsey, the actor, actually is the director of this episode. And Azzy Tesfaye, who plays Kelly Olsen and the Guardian in this episode, co-wrote the story for this episode. So they're all getting involved.
The gauntlet is better than the hood over her head. You know, Justin, that's kind of a fair point.
Yeah, it's true. And the eye makeup.
I won't argue. Yeah. She needs to work on the smoky eye. I think that might look a little better.
So Blind Spots will air at on the CW in the US Tuesday, September 21st at 9 p.m. Eastern Pacific Time, and we look forward to seeing how this goes. But beyond that, Azzy Tesfaye, the actress who plays Kelly Olsen, did an interview with the CW talking about what it was like writing this episode. So here's a bit of that interview right now.
The question is, what are you gonna do with what you're feeling right now?
I was notified that you're the first actor to ever have written an episode, first on an Arrowverse show, and then they said, actually, for any Berlanti production.
I'm gonna figure this out, Joey. I promise.
Shocking, and then also exciting that a character like Kelly and her stepping in the Guardian also gets to be the first to tell a story.
Many times it's just people in the community desperately trying to help themselves. They need help.
representation is really important to me, and not just visually in front of the camera, but behind the camera as well. And so telling a story and being able to protect certain characters and not just amplify but elevate them is really important.
I am looking at people suffer, people that look like me.
That's part of the interview with as they testify, which you can check out in full on our website. Yeah, really interesting to see that she's the first actor who, on any Berlanti production CW show, that has written an episode as well as star in it.
That's weird. I know they do a lot of people directing episodes. The writing is probably a little more difficult because they have a writing staff.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I don't know exactly how some of them do it. I know some have like a spec script a season where they have somebody from outside of the writer's room. But yeah, that's an interesting distinction. I mean, we're a decade into these Berlanti shows. So
Yeah, indeed. So they're really pushing the envelope. We also have a description for the 14th episode of the 6th and final season of Supergirl. It is titled Magical Thinking, and it reads, Lena is uncertain about using her magical abilities to help Supergirl retrieve the second totem from Nixley. William struggles to write a story on the Super Friends that makes both the heroes and Andrea happy. Meanwhile, Kelly is thrilled Esme has found a new home, but things go awry and the little girl's future is put in danger. Obviously, we're yet to find out who Esme is, but I'm guessing that will be revealed in upcoming episodes. What do you see?
Lena's magical abilities. I'm sorry. I just like you can read that and it sounds a certain way, but when actually somebody articulates it, you realize how overly silly the idea is.
Magical thinking.
Yeah, well, it was right there in the title, wasn't it?
This episode will air on Tuesday, October 5th. So yeah, we're really getting into the season of Supergirl and looking forward to seeing how they're going to wrap things up. But Superman and Lois is now on HBO Max. The complete first season is available for people to watch in full. All 15 episodes of the CW series were available as of September 17th.
And they are the extended episodes, so it's the ones that you would have seen on the CW as opposed to the ones that they aired, where they would trim here and there. So if you watched it like on the CW as it aired, like for the season finale, for example, you didn't see the scene where Clark was in the Fortress of Solitude getting the crystal together, which I thought was a really strong scene. So I'm glad that they have the full episodes.
Yep, so if you're on HBO Max, you can watch all 15 episodes of the first season of Superman and Lois right now. And don't forget that the complete first season will be also released on Blu-ray and DVD on October 19th, and you can order yours through our website. But they're not resting on their laurels. The cast and crew of Superman and Lois are back at it. They're filming the second season right now. This week, Elizabeth Tulloch, who plays Lois Lane, posted this image of the front page of the script for episode 1 of season 2. And we can see from that it's titled What Lies Beneath, is written by Brent Fletcher and Todd Helbing, and will be directed by Gregory Smith.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I kind of feel bad that the cast and crew did not get much of a break, but it's nice that they're back at it. Because it's much earlier than it was. Seems like it's much earlier than it was last year when they started filming. Or am I wrong about that?
No, I think you're right. But I think it just feels like there's been less of a break because of the fact that they were delayed, and with COVID and everything, that they had to just have a break, go on hiatus, and then come back to film the remaining episodes, and then they've maybe been out of it for a couple of months, and then they're back into it. They've probably been on a longer break than the show has for us anyway, because they do all the filming and then they got to do all the editing and all the production stuff, post-production stuff, and the cast and crew have wrapped and gone home while they're still working on that and then releasing them on TV. But we don't know yet as exactly when episode 1 of season 2 will air on the CW, but it is expected back on our screens in early 2022, so we have a few months to wait.
I don't want to wait. I miss the show already. I really do.
I know, I'm with you there. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to play some messages, and then we're going to come back on the flip side to do the fan favorite segment of our show, This Week in History, and then we're going to get into the comic book side of things. So hang with us. We'll be back right after these messages.
We'll be back in a moment with the exciting climax of today's episode. So stand by.
If you're enjoying Superman Homepage Live, then please like and share this video with your family and friends. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to our YouTube channel, then you can click on the bell to receive notifications whenever we post a new video. You can also join our YouTube membership program, just click the join button below. Or you can become a patron and support our website by going to patreon.com/Superman Homepage.
Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird.
It's a plane. No, it's SupermanHomepage.com, the #1 Superman fan site in the world. SupermanHomepage.com, covering the world of Superman from the 1930s to today. News, reviews, rumors, and reports. SupermanHomepage.com for all your Superman comics, TV shows, movies, cartoons, radio shows, and more. Everything you ever wanted to know about the Man of Steel and more. SupermanHomepage.com.
Thanks, Superman Homepage, for all the support over the years. I really appreciate it.
I'm Matt Bomer. I'm the voice of Superman in Superman Unbound, and this is the Superman Homepage.
Right here on Superman Homepage.
Delicious.
And dangerous. First, never touch any appliance without a parent's supervision, and always be careful with kitchen appliances. Keep their cords out of your way and your fingers out of their way. Also, always turn pot handles in, away from the edge of the stove.
So nobody bumps into them and gets hurt.
Now you're cooking.
Safety tip there by Superman. For those who are eager to cook, make sure you're doing the right thing. I just cooked my lunch earlier and made sure my handle was turned away from the edge.
Yeah, I have to do that. Yeah, I mean, I also, oddly enough, the long hair means that if I don't have it braided like I do now, I have to put it up because it's a hazard where it is because it falls right where the fire is. So yeah, that's
important safety
things I never had to worry about before.
No, indeed. Well, there you go. All right, well, we're going to move into the comic book side of things, where this week DC Comics released their December solicitations, and we highlighted for you all the comics listed in that schedule of what's to come. But before we get into that, I did promise we would do our fan favorite segment of our show, so I'm skipping ahead there, but here is our fan favorite intro. All right, what was our fan favorite question from this week, Michael?
What is your favorite moment from the movie Man of Steel? And Stephen Marshall writes in and says, my favorite moment from Man of Steel is when Kal-El sees Jor-El in the scout ship. And Jor-El tells him, you can save her, Kal, you can save all of them. Superman then flies out of the ship to save Lois, who is falling down to Earth in the damaged pod. It's a moment that gives me incredible goosebumps, especially with the way the music really complements the dialogue as it ramps up.
Let's have a look at that scene right now.
Is it true what Zod said about the Codex?
Strike that panel. We wanted you to learn what it meant to be human first. So that one day, when the time was right, you could be the bridge between two peoples. Look. You can save her, Cal. You can save all of them.
There's that scene. You can save them, Cal. You can save all of them. So, that was Stephen Marshall. Thank you for that. Next up, we had Ron Crosby, who said there are so many things I love from this movie. It's my favorite Superman movie, but I think if I had to pick just one, it would have to be the first flight scene. I'm sure this is a common favorite amongst Man of Steel fans, but it really just is that good. And here is that scene, thanks to Ron. Let's have a look at that right now.
Why am I so different from them?
Earth's sun is younger and brighter than Krypton's was. Your cells have drunk in its radiation, strengthening your muscles, your skin, your senses. Earth's gravity is weaker, yet its atmosphere is more nourishing. You've grown stronger here than I ever could have imagined. The only way to know how strong is to keep testing your limits.
That's that flight scene from Man of Steel. Thank you very much for that one. Who's next?
Robert Lewis wrote, sorry I was too late for last week's question. My favorite episode of The Adventures of Superman is a tie. Season 2, Episode 5, Shot in the Dark, where a young boy's photo threatens Clark's secret. And Season 2, Episode 12, Panic in the Sky, where Superman rams a giant asteroid, leaving him staggered and with amnesia. I remember how as a young lad I was so worried that Superman would never recover from this incident. As for this week's question, the battle at Smallville was my favorite. Such amazing effects.
Well, let's have a look at the Battle of Smallville, thanks to Robert Lewis.
What have you done to me?
My parents taught me to hone my senses on. Focus on just what I wanted to see. Without your helmet, you're getting everything. And it hurts, doesn't it?
That's the start of the battle from Smallville, when the Zod is taken away, and then the battle begins between, I want to call it, is it Faora? And,
yes, Faora.
And giant Kryptonian. I was going to call it Ursa, but no. So yeah, very cool.
We'll just call her not Ursa. Yeah, that'll be the easiest way to identify her.
Indeed.
So. I think you're next.
Okay, yeah, we've got Jason J, who wrote in saying, I'll go with the great Michael Shannon performance of Man of Steel. Specifically, you think your son is safe, I will find him. So let's have a look at that moment from, thanks to Jason J. Let me see if I can find, yeah, there it is.
General Zod, for the crimes of murder and high treason, the Council has sentenced you and your fellow insurgents to 300 cycles of somatic reconditioning. Do you have any last words?
You won't kill us yourself! You wouldn't sully your hands, but you'll damn us to a black hole for eternity! Jor-El was right. You're a pack of fools! Every last one of you! And you believe your son is safe? I will find him. I will reclaim what you have taken from us. I will find him. I will find him, Lara. I will find him!
There you go, Michael Shannon doing his General Zod. It's funny. I've been actually watching on Amazon Prime, Nine Perfect Strangers is a series, and Michael Shannon is in it, and he's so different in all his roles. He's such a versatile actor.
He is. He often just is kind of a chameleon and goes different for each of the roles. A couple of weeks ago, I was watching him on an episode of Law and Order: Criminal Intent, and he was just completely different from his Zod. But I think that's just the type of actor he is. I think he wants to do, different things every time.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Jack Rocha wrote, "My favorite Man of Steel moment is when Jor-El fought Zod on Krypton. I liked all the Jor-El moments, but if I had to pick one, that would be it."
And here's that scene from Man of Steel.
I know you stole the Codex, Jor-El. Surrender it, and I'll let you live.
This is a second chance for all of Krypton, not just the bloodlines you deem worthy.
What have you done?
We have had a child, Zod. A boy child. Krypton's first natural birth in centuries. And he will be free. Free to forge his own destiny.
Heresy! Destroy it!
There you have it. That's the fight scene between Jor-El and Zod. A lot of people remarked at the time, here's this trained army general and Jor-El is a scientist. How does Jor-El hold his own against Zod?
I of all the things to complain about in that movie, speaking on that though, to answer your question first, my headcanon is that Jor-El and Zod are obviously friends. And my thinking is that Jor-El, either with Zod's help or kind of on his own, just learned how to do that, learned how to fight, even though it was outside of his caste, for lack of a better term.
Yep.
And it just reminds me that of all the problems I have with that film, absolutely none of them involve Krypton.
Yeah.
The Krypton scenes in that were just dead solid perfect. They were absolutely what they needed to be. And watching the two scenes you just played, another thing that I never noticed before, Zod spits on the council.
Yeah.
And I think that's a bigger thing than I had really previously thought, because when you look at him and his reaction to the fact that Jor-El and Laura made the Rondor with two backs to conceive Cal, he goes, heresy. Like, the idea of them physically being together is just beyond anything that he can conceive of. But he spits on them, which is a really kind of physical act. So I think that's more of a thing than I thought about before. So it's always interesting when you rewatch these things, how you have new thoughts that pop into your head.
Indeed. So those were the responses to the fan favorite question. Thanks to everyone, to Jack, Jason, Robert, Ron, and Stephen for sending in your replies to that. Justin's saying that the stream fell out. No, it seems like... Okay. Looks like we might have a copyright strike because we... let me go back at it, see what's going on, and should be able to get back into it. So let me just deal with that.
Oh, there we are.
We're back?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll deal with the copyright strike later on, but hopefully everyone is back watching.
We didn't play the whole movie.
No, I know. So,
we played scenes and we were discussing them.
Yeah. All good. We will figure it out. I'll deal with the copyright strike. It's, as we're talking about it, it's usually not an issue as we're doing reviews and commentary, so it's well within the fair use. So glad that we're back. Everyone's back tuning in. Thanks to everyone for the fan favorite responses. So we appreciate your feedback on that. Michael, what is our new fan favorite question for this week?
Keeping in with the whole favorite thing, what is your favorite episode of Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman?
Yeah, so get involved in the fan favorite segment of our show. Let us know what your favorite episode of Lois and Clark: New Adventures of Superman is by sending an email to the email address scrolling across the bottom of your screen right now, info@supermanhomepage.com. On second thoughts, I might not play videos of your favorite episodes of
No.
Clark next week. Might just do like what we did with Adventures of Superman and post some screen caps to indicate which episode was your favorite. info@supermanhomepage.com. That is the email address to get involved in the fan favorite segment. People asking who reported it to YouTube about the copyright strike. It's all automated. It's like the bot kind of works out that this is a copyright item, this is matching that, automatically puts it as a copyright issue, and then all you have to do is submit a response disputing that, which I do multiple times throughout the week.
A day.
Yeah. So and they usually get cleared once Warner Brothers or the owner, whoever it is, says, yeah, no, you're well within your fair use rights to be able to use snippets as we go along. So don't freak out, everyone. It's all good. It happens all the time. Just one of those things that we have to do as a fan site. But let's move on to This Week in History and check out what was in the world of Superman this week over the last 80 years.
Come with me now, my son, as we break through the bonds of your earthly confinement, traveling through time and space.
All right.
Alrighty, starting in 1941, we have Action Comics number 42, which I believe is the first appearance of the Vigilante, or the Golden Age version of it, but it's got the Superman story City in the Stratosphere, and it really tells you how different things were back then, because Superman shared this with the Black Pirate, Mr. America, Congo Bill, Zatar. There's a lot of titles in that.
And interesting that the S on the cape is a blue and yellow version, which is quite different.
It's a pretty dynamic cover. I feel bad for the guys. The next cover is from 1961. This I think, was used for Smallville. Because, man, they had both Green Arrow and Aquaman kind of vying for Lois's affections. And I am 100% sure that if they had gotten Bruce Wayne on there, Lois would have gone for him too. But this one has Lois Lane's Secret Identity, The School for Scoops, and The Irresistible Lois Lane. So she's just making out with everybody. Good for her. Jumping ahead to 1971, we have Superman's Girlfriend, Lois Lane, number 116, which is not as dynamic of a cover. But you've got Lois Lane, you've got Rose and Thorn, and Dr. Pat. I have no idea who that is. I've never read that.
Having a adventure.
It's apparently Dr. Pat has thrilling adventures. Jumping ahead to 1981. Wow, we're packed because it's the back end of the month, and in the 80s, early 80s is just how it was. We have The Man Who Murdered Metropolis, in one of those villains that should have popped bigger, but Neutron was kind of a cool Marvel type villain. This has an airwave backup, as was the want of Action Comics at the time. Superman.
Wasn't Neutron one of those villains that appeared in one of those radio record?
Yeah, they adapted two of the stories that he appeared in for those tapes that I think you had on the site at one point.
Yeah, still do.
But moving on to Earth 2, Superman appears in All-Star Squadron number 4. Which is the issue where they realize that they can't go and fight the Nazis because of the Sphere of Destiny. So Superman had a lot of appearances in that title, more than you might want to think of. Jumping ahead to New Adventures of Superman.
Yeah, before we move on, Justin in the comments is that Neutron did have his own dance in the 80s.
He did. The Pointer Sisters sang about him.
Thanks, Justin.
It just shows how far-reaching the Superman comics were at the time. Uh, so we got the New Adventures of Superboy number 24, which has a Superboy and a Super Baby story. I was never a fan of the Super Baby stories or any of that I've ever read. That's just not my thing. Superman Family, once again, has the Earth 2 Superman on the cover. And that is the Earth 2 version of Insect Queen. It looks like a rock star from the 80s, but that is actually Lana Lang.
Oh, you
kind
just
of
put up the
fascinating.
cover. They've got a question there. Who is the Insect Queen? And you've just given it away, Michael.
Of course, read Who's Who. You know, it's all right there. It's kind of funny that the Earth 2 Insect Queen actually has her first appearance after the Earth 1, and usually it's the other way around. And finally, we have World's Finest, number 274, where Batman appears to be breaking in on Superman and a guy about to make out, which that's not very nice, Batman. But this also had stories with Green Arrow and Black Canary, Zatanna, Hawkman, and Captain Marvel. Jumping ahead to 1991, we had The Adventures of Superman number 484, the first part of the Blackout storyline, where Superman gets amnesia. This was not the best of this era, but it wasn't bad. I just remember not enjoying Blackout as much as the other big crossovers that they had. But that's a really cool cover by Ordway. That same week, Superman Archives Volume 3 came out. I'm glad I got these because they're starting to pick up in price on the aftermarket. I'm glad I got them when I did, because I don't want to pay a lot of money for things. Jumping ahead to 2001, we have Just Imagine Stan Lee with John Buscema creating Superman number 1. That is a mouthful of a title. Did you like this?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Okay, good, because I didn't want to be the stick in the mud. I actually thought this was a terrible book. The artwork was fine, but just Stan Lee's conception of Superman was just like, no, that doesn't work at all. Also, that same week, we had Superboy, 92, and Supergirl number 62, which has a really cool Two-Face cover. With Supergirl on the coin, and Superman the Man of Steel number 118. We're ramping up to the end of this series. Oh, I can't believe that. And 10 years ago this week, Supergirl number 1 came out. Boy, that book was all over the place.
Yeah.
It really was, and that costume just has not held up. In the real world, September 22nd is traditionally recognized as Supergirl's birthday, and ironically, it's also the birthday of Laura Vandervoort, who played Supergirl. That's kind of fascinating. September 23rd, and she's very nice, by the way. Yes. September 23rd, Peter David was born in 1956. He wrote the Supergirl series from the 90s into the 2000s.
Supergirl.
Yeah, a lot of Supergirl. September 24th, Tommy Bond, who was not only in Our Gang with Jackie Cooper, but also was Jimmy Olsen in the movie serials. He died in 2005, which is very sad. And on September 25th, Christopher Reeve was born in 1952, and that is it for Superman, the real world, and this week in history.
There you go, a big week in This Week in History for Superman fans. A lot of things to get through, a lot of Supergirl stuff in there, as we said. So
yeah,
really cool that there was so much. And I'm glad we had all the covers and all the images to go along with such an illustrious week in the history of Superman. All right, let's jump into the comic book side of things, whereas I kind of jumped the gun a little bit earlier. DC Comics released their December solicitations this past week, and we highlighted for you all the Superman comics coming out in December. Of special note was this issue of Action Comics number, what am I looking at? Action Comics 1038. I'm just grabbing that image for you right now. In this particular comic book, we have the World Saga Part 3. Everything changes after the heart-stopping events of Action Comics 1037. Superman and the surviving members of the Authority see a side of World they never knew existed. In the lower catacombs, Superman finds another survivor of the lost Pelosian race of Krypton, a scientist-turned-enslaved gladiator with much to teach Superman of his new home, including how to survive and maybe, in time, how to escape. Meanwhile, Superman's quest to turn the hordes of World against their masters begins. Then we also have, of special note, the background behind me, which is the Superman 78 number 5 issue. As Brainiac attacks Metropolis for Lex Luthor's transgressions, Superman works as fast as he can to escape the bottled city of Kandor. But what will it take to get free from the shrunken Kryptonian city might be more than the Man of Steel can handle. Will he be able to leave behind the people he thought he lost and save his adoptive world, or will Superman be catalogued and preserved permanently by Brainiac? So those are some of the solicitations coming out for December comic books.
Just want to note that they also solicited absolute versions of Death Metal and Doomsday Clock. And I want to note, folks, that Doomsday Clock, Absolute Edition, John Byrne's Man of Steel, no Absolute Edition. I don't get it.
Controversy.
Little controversy here later in the show.
Wow. Also in December, and it was announced a little bit earlier in the week, DC are coming out with a new 6-issue miniseries titled World of Krypton. Written by Robert Venditti with art by Michael Avon Oeming. World of Krypton is described as a modern retelling of one of the most storied periods in comics. When a catastrophic event befalls Krypton's natural world, it points towards a mass extinction in the making. Jor-El, head of Krypton's revered science council, embarks on a mission to save a world that may already have passed the point of no return. This 6-issue miniseries shines new light on the famous characters of Krypton's past and combines action, cosmic wonder, a political intrigue in a story as much about our world as the one on the page. Interesting.
Yeah, I like how they just keep going back to this well. And before we started the show tonight, I was being very snarky about this, but in all seriousness, I like that every generation wants to kind of explore what Krypton was like. There are people who look at Krypton as only existing to blow up.
Yeah.
But given certain, real world events that are happening right now, the story of Krypton is a little more relevant than ever. So I'm not surprised that they would want to do a 6-issue miniseries about this.
And the first issue will be released on December 7th. So we're looking forward to that. But just a quick look at this week's comic books. This is what you can look forward to if you are reading comic books this week, and there isn't much. But here is what you have to look forward to. We have, a Looney Tunes issue. Issue number 262, a Super Duck story. Obviously mimicking the story of Superman. Daffy Duck as, I think it's Clark Kent, but I could be mistaken. And that is available this week. Also available this week, we have Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow number 4, and that is available in this variant cover. Then we also have the 25th Wedding Anniversary Deluxe Edition of Superman's Wedding Album. That is out this week in hardcover, a deluxe edition, 25th Anniversary Edition.
I should be picking that up. I did order that. I know everyone's really shocked. That's a little beyond me. And Steve, it's not Super Duck. It's Super Duck.
Sorry. Very good. So I just saw that cover and thought, I've got to include that in the listing of what's coming out this week.
To answer Mind the Gap's question, I did not notice that Gangbuster is in the upcoming One-Star Squadron series. I really didn't like the last time they brought Gangbuster back. I thought they kind of did things with that character that they really didn't need to do. They gave him a gun for one thing, which, given Jose Delgado's background. That just he's not the Punisher. So,
Mm.
but yeah, it could be fun.
Yeah, indeed. I believe we have Mark Lax, who's willing to, interested in coming on the show tonight. So we're just going to call Mark now and get him on, and see what his thoughts are on things happening this week in the world of Superman. So Mark, calling you right now. Hopefully he'll get on in a sec. Yes, should have a dial tone. Hey Mark, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Doing well, thanks. And what's happening with you this week?
Oh, not too much.
How's
Just,
the recovery process going?
okay. I'm still having problems with my car. They're probably going to total it, and then I have to get a rental, and it's a whole big tumult. But we're dealing.
So what's been on your mind this week in the world of Superman?
Again, like I said, I'm just reading things, to enjoy, and it's just, I'm just confused as to, I don't know. I was reading Superman and the Authority.
Right.
And I haven't been, I haven't gotten to 4 yet because I don't think it was out. But I'm just wondering, where is this going to fit in? I know they mentioned it in the, I think the solicitation for Action Comics.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm kind of confused as to where that takes place, because he's older and he has the gray hair, and it's just right now, well, the book between Super John and what's happening in Action and Superman and Authority, everything just seems to be separate. I guess they're trying to combine it all. I'm sure they will, but I'm just kind of confused where everything sits,
Yeah, it is a weird one because I know that it does tie in with other stuff going on, because as we saw in the solicitation I read out for December, the Authority are part of what's happening with Superman and World there. But as for this series, Superman and the Authority, it's obviously set somewhere down the track because Superman's older, his powers have diminished, he's wearing a totally different costume. So yeah, it's a little bit confusing as to how it fits into continuity.
He's in the old fortress too.
Yeah.
He's in the old, it's the Arctic. I don't know what's going on with with the fortress. I don't know what they're going to do with that, but he's in the old Arctic fortress. So I think that's cool, but it's just confusing a little bit, but I enjoy it.
Yeah. No, it's a good time to be a Superman fan because there are different titles coming, that are around and new series and things coming up. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where the comic books lead us in the coming weeks and months.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, I know they're talking about another crisis, which is I'm rolling my eyes about, but who knows what's going to happen, But yeah, you're right. It is a good time because there are a lot of books and there's things to choose from, whether you want to read the main stuff or the other stuff, Superman 78 or what have you. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I will say that.
And is there anything else in the world of Superman that's caught your eye this past week?
No, I just wanted to say that I did want to write that retrospective on Superman the Animated Series. I know I told you I was going to get to it, and I will.
Well, looking forward to that. So looking forward to seeing what your thoughts were on the series 25 years later.
Yeah, it's just I have a lot of thoughts about it. So just wanted to let you know.
Very cool. Well, thanks, Mark, for calling in. It's always great to hear from you. I hope the recovery process continues for you there after the cyclone, and wish you all the best.
All right, you too. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Mark. Bye-bye.
Bye, Mark.
Bye.
That was Mark Lax. I appreciate him calling in. Well, that pretty much brings us to the end of tonight's episode. Apologies again for the small delays we had in the beginning with some technical issues with the streaming, but we appreciate that everyone's joined us for tonight's episode of Superman Homepage Live. Before we wrap up, Michael, anything you want to touch on, leave us with for this week?
I continue to be impressed that DC is actually doing things with Superman. Like 10 years ago, when the New 52 started, we had like the 2 main Superman books and 2 family books, and he was in Justice League. And it's like he couldn't get arrested. But now we not only have like 2 main, he's in Action Comics, his son is in his own title, we've got Superman and the Authority, we've got Superman 78. I mean, it's just like DC has finally seemed to have gotten to the point where they're willing to kind of branch out. I mean, they've got 15 new Bat books coming out every month, but that's just their profit model. But no, at least they're trying. I feel like he's not being ignored anymore.
Yeah. Well, because it was Batman Day this week, I did wear my Superman defeating Batman T-shirt on. For...
He had it coming.
But that is our episode for this week. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to Superman Homepage Live. I want to thank Mark for calling in. I want to thank all the people in the comments there on YouTube watching the show live. And to you, my co-host, Mr. Michael Bailey, thank you very much.
Oh, pleasure as always, Steve.
And thanks to our sponsors and patrons, Douglas Meacham, John Patrick Van Pelt, and Tina Murray. And remember, if you've missed part of the show, tuned in late, you can watch the complete 1-hour episode of tonight's Superman Homepage Live at supermanhomepage.com or our YouTube channel. And Michael and I will be back next week on Monday, September 27th for another edition of Superman Homepage Live at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time. Look forward to talking to you then. Until then, make sure you check out supermanhomepage.com for all your daily news updates on everything surrounding the Man of Steel. I'm Steve Eunice on behalf of myself and Michael Bailey. Thanks for watching Superman Homepage Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com.